Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Faster my good evening, it's 5:30. This is Update for Friday 1st of September 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news here on the Isle of Man, and background to that news with sport, business and Sea Watch and travel updates, and the newsmakers in person this evening. Only 79 children in care. We should provide the best services. Traffic turmoil coming on the Newcastle Town Road. Half of the People's Woods trees have failed. The MGP supporters slammed the Mountain Road closure, and the Ravens are in action in Manchester tomorrow.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Faster my Dave Moore.
Faster my, the Isle of Man steam packet companies apologising for delays on recent services. In a statement, the ferry operator says there was a backlog of freight and passenger traffic due to the end of the Manx Grand Prix and weather disruption during August. An MLC says there have been ongoing problems recruiting social workers into youth services in the Isle of Man. Kerry Sharp, who's also the island's children's champion, adds there needs to be more homegrown social workers. The Isle of Man has the cheapest diesel in the British Isles. A survey conducted by Confused.com Fuel Index shows motorists in the island pay an average of just over £1.46 per litre. Elsewhere, thousands of parents in England are waiting to find out whether their child will be moved to a temporary school location because of unsafe concrete. More public buildings, including hospitals in the UK, have been found to contain a certain type of material that's prone to collapse. An inquest has concluded that delays in moving a 20-year-old woman in a mental health hospital closer to home led to her condition deteriorating before she died. Lauren Bridges took her own life while she was 250 miles away from her family. And the Office for National Statistics has revised its stats on GDP. The UK's gross domestic product contracted by 10.4% in 2020, an improvement on the originally reported 11%. Those are the Update News headlines. The next bulletin is at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Just a quick word about a yellow weather warning for inner harbour flooding overnight. The Tongue in Douglas, coastal overtopping on Douglas Prom, Laxey Prom and Ramsey Prom because of high spring tides and light to moderate easterly winds. That's overnight. No weather warning out in the North Irish Sea. No wind warning. State of sea is smooth or slight. This evening, dry and bright. Light to moderate southeasterly, down to 15 through the night. And for tomorrow, Saturday, cloudy start, then bright with sunny spells. Light to moderate southeasterly. Then it'll turn southerly, up to 20 degrees tomorrow. Coastal mist later in the day. Dry after dark, overnight minimum 15. Jaduni will be dry and bright. Sunny spells perhaps in a light to moderate southwesterly. Top temperature 20 degrees and a risk of coastal mist again. Now, low water 26 minutes past 7. Sunset 10 past 8. That all-important high tide is at 28 minutes after 1. So the yellow weather warning is between midnight and 3 a.m. Sunrise 27 minutes past 6, and the morning low tide is at 5 to 8.
Visit the Manx Glass and Glazing website and see a range of products from windows to doors, mirrors to splashbacks. manxglass.com.
With just 79 children in care, the Isle of Man should be able to provide the very best children's services, so says Kerry Sharp MLC. But with ongoing issues, the recruitment and retention of social workers, is it a problem? Well, Kerry Sharp is also the Isle of Man's children's champion. She was on Man in Line today on Manx Radio.
Overall, I would say that from the meetings that I've had with children who are in care, that is children who are fostered or children who are in residential homes, I've had really positive conversations with them overall, and I have no reason to believe that there's anything happening that I don't know about. But I think our ambitions for our children who are in care are really not high enough, I would say. I think that we have got the opportunity on the island, because we're only a small island when you think about it, so there's only 79 children who are looked after, and you think, come on, that's only like 2 large classrooms of children, we could know them all by name if we had to. So we should, in theory, be able to get everything exactly right. We should be able to provide the very best children's services, but they need resourcing. There has been ongoing problems getting enough social workers to work in children's social work historically, and the service has had to rely on agency staff, and that's not a great situation for many reasons, but most of all for the children.
Yes.
Because you get a high turnover, and
presumably agency means more, they cost more.
Well, generally agency staff do cost more. It's not ideal, but it's a situation that you see right across Britain, actually, when it comes to lack of social workers, lack of nurses, etc. But we could do with more of our own homegrown social workers, and specifically for children's services, and work to keep them in children's services.
The Newcastle Town Road will close to traffic for roughly six weeks between Spring Valley Roundabout and the bottom of Richmond Hill, starting later this month. A story from Lewis Foster.
It's for resurfacing work, which will take place between Monday the 11th of September until no later than Friday the 27th of October. The Department of Infrastructure says it will reopen the junction at the bottom of Richmond Hill and divert all traffic using the A5 between Douglas and the South via the Energy from Waste Plant Access Road and the top of Quegg Hill. It says the access road will be made a clearway with a temporary 30 miles per hour speed limit. Preparatory work will be undertaken to ensure that this road is ready to carry additional traffic. The temporary 30 miles per hour speed limit will also be in operation on the entirety of Richmond Hill during these works due to the temporary traffic layout at the bottom of the hill. The clearway order on the Energy from Waste Plant Access Road will come into being on Friday the 8th of September. This is ahead of the main resurfacing scheme to allow enabling works required to temporarily reopen the junction with the A5. Owners of any vehicles currently parked at the end of this road are asked to move them before the introduction of the clearway order. That's next Friday. Access will be maintained for the small number of residents within the area of closed road. Meanwhile, next week there will be a series of evening closures along Richmond Hill between Spring Valley Roundabout and Ballacutchell Road, Santon, from 6:30 until midnight. This other work for drainage maintenance will take place from Monday the 4th of September until Friday the 8th. The DOI says the Friday night closure may not be needed, but is there in case of unforeseen circumstances.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
For the 5th match running, FC Isle of Man will be on their travels tomorrow to face Wythenshawe Town in the NWCFL Premier Division, a side the Ravens beat on the opening day of the season, with FC Isle of Man's manager and assistant manager currently on leave, taking charge of the Manx side this time round, coach Gareth Lloyd.
Majority of the squad, again, trained Tuesday. Obviously, the guys who have been involved quite a lot over the last 3 games, we gave a little bit of rest. So the main focus was just being together, keeping our focus on the process of how we want to do things, etc. So that's what it's been this week, just making sure people are all fresh and ready to go for the abundance of games what we're going to have in September. Again, it's just reinforcing that each game is won and lost in moments, and it's just making sure in them moments they go the right way for us. Again, we did more of a session going over stuff in preparation for the game, and also just doing stuff like finishing and stuff, what we do most weeks. But again, you miss chances, don't you? And unfortunately, Monday was one of them days, and we've just got to make sure it's out the system, and then we go again and we're all ready for Saturday. Wythenshawe Town have had a good pedigree over the last couple of seasons, haven't they? Finishing 3rd, I think, twice before, and just being unfortunate to miss out on the playoff to get promoted. I know this season they had a lot of players, a lot of turnaround on players, and if anything, they'll be better because they've played more league games together. And again, we're away from home. They're not coming into our patch, so to speak. So it's going to be probably a lot tougher game because they've had more experience together. So we're going to have to be prepared and ready for that. If we are, ice in our heads during them chaotic moments. As long as the result falls our way, that's the most important thing.
Efforts to try and overcome a high failure rate of trees planted in the People's Wood appear to be working, with the trees currently on site showing good growth. More than 70,000 broadleaf trees were planted on the site from February 2021, but 50% didn't grow. Head of the forestry in the Department of Environment, Food and Agriculture is Jason Bolt.
We also had a lot of challenges with COVID, ground conditions, site suitability. It's very exposed. Supply issues with new trees and getting the labour and getting it all done was quite a mammoth task in a very short space of time. But a lot of the trees we did plant, although they've been slow, they are still growing.
So you haven't had to start from scratch?
So we haven't had to start from scratch, no. So what we're doing now is we're basically using what resources we've got available to concentrate into certain areas of the whole site and make sure we're targeting stuff which is going to be realistic and achievable and get the trees growing well over the next 3 to 4, maybe 5 years. But eventually we're confident a lot of the trees that we've got now are growing and are showing good growth, and we'll continue with the maintenance and the management of the site to get the wood enough. We've decided to put some of the trees, the new trees and some of the older trees which are struggling and small into biodegradable tubes. We always buy biodegradable tubes now. So they've got about a 5-year lifespan and they'll start to break away.
What would get them if they weren't there? Rabbits?
Mostly
rabbits?
Mainly rabbits in this area, which there is quite a population of rabbits in here because of all the hedgerows we have here. So they have been a bit of a scourge on us and they have done some damage. But the tubes now are actually serving the purpose. They're identifying where all the new trees are so we can easily do weed control. And also the trees are pretty much, I think there's early estimates around 80-85% success rate now.
Which is good.
Which is good now, yes. Yeah. There are some areas that we haven't put tubes in, but that might happen in future years. We just need to manage.
So they are available to put tubes in?
Yeah. There's more tubes to go back in later, but this is going to be over a 3, 4, 5 year project now.
Sea-Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
Motor vessel Manxman departed Heysham at 26 minutes to 4. She'll be into Douglas at about 7:15. Ben McCree departs this evening. She was due out at 8:15. She won't be leaving until 9 o'clock tonight presumably because of that low spring tide. Ben McCree departs at 9 o'clock, arriving in Heysham. That's going to be gone midnight now, departing at 2:15, back to Douglas at 6 tomorrow morning. The high-speed craft left Douglas at 2 minutes past 4. She'll be into Liverpool just gone 6:30, departing Liverpool at 8 o'clock and back to Douglas at 11:15. Tomorrow morning's departures: Manannan leaves Douglas at 7:15 for Liverpool, and the Manxman departs Douglas at 8:45 for Heysham.
Follow the Steam Packet on Twitter for the latest sailing information.
A decision to close the Mountain Road earlier this week has been described as daft by the chair of the Manx Grand Prix Supporters Club. The road was shut between 9:30 and 4:30 on Tuesday and Wednesday while the DOI removed course equipment. Chair of the Manx Grand Prix Supporters Club is Alan Brew.
One of the main reasons for the reduced format is lack of marshals. So I was disappointed to find on Tuesday, just having a chat with some friends who were marshalling, that they'd had a message sent through to them that because on Tuesday the marshals' huts were going to be removed, any personal possessions inside, unless they were recovered, would be removed and left outside. So they were not too happy about that, and given that we need all the goodwill for the marshals, that was disappointing to hear. The other factor as well was obviously with the decision to close the roads Tuesday, Wednesday, any marshals that want to get up to on the mountain couldn't do so. I think it was only the chief sector marshals which were allowed access. So there was a great deal of dissatisfaction over the decision. And obviously to close the roads Tuesday when it was a possible contingency race day seemed a bit strange. And also the fact that we've still got quite a lot of visitors still here on the island, with the Mountain Road being closed Tuesday and Wednesday. It seems a daft decision.
Your friends that you were chatting to who are marshals, has this put them off at all, or do you think they still love the event so much that they'll be back regardless? That's
hard to say. A couple of them were trying to contact their office, i.e. the Isle of Man Marshal's office. All they got was an answer phone and a redirection to a voicemail. But as of this morning, I don't think they've even had a call back regarding their messages they left. So they're disappointed, really dissatisfied, and who knows what the impact will be.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 5:45, Mike Ashley's Frasers Group upped its stake in the online fashion retailer ASOS. The company, which owns Sports Direct, House of Fraser, Flannels and Jack Wills, lifted its stake to 19.8% from 19.3%, sending ASOS shares higher. Frasers also revealed in a filing earlier in the day that it's increased its stake in the fast fashion retailer Boohoo to 10.4% from 9.1%, having already upped it from 7.8% on Thursday. Fraser also owns stakes in AO World, Currys and Hugo Boss. And for a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. Germany's property sector suffering its worst slump in decades after years of low interest rates fueled a global boom. Interest in German property surged. Surely German property was as safe and stable as Germany. Well, no. A sharp rise in rates, rocketing, soaring energy costs and building costs put an end to the run. It's tipped a string of developers into insolvency, frozen deals and pushed prices down, prompting the industry to appeal to the Chancellor Olaf Scholz for help. Reuters reports developers' fortunes, including Euroboden, changed in 2022 when the European Central Bank began to increase rates, making it harder to borrow and find buyers for projects. The health of Germany's property sector, Europe's biggest property investment market outside Britain, is critical, making up roughly a fifth of output and providing 1 in 10 jobs in Germany. New building for the first half of 2023 in Germany nearly halved from the past 2 years.
The Stock Market Report. Brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European markets closed mixed. The dollar fell against the euro and Japanese yen. Oil was set to snap a 2-week losing streak. And gold set for a second straight weekly gain. The numbers now from Ramsey Crookall. At the close in London, the FTSE 100 up 0.33% at 7,464. The DAX in Frankfurt down 0.6% at the close at 15,847. A short time ago in New York City, the Dow Jones Industrial up just over 0.1% at 34,769. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index down fractionally 0.4% at 14,029, and the S&P 500 in Chicago up 0.1% at 4,512. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling is trading at $1 25.7 cents, €1 16.7 cents, and 23 South African rand 69.6 cents. In commodities, gold's fractionally down 0.03% at $1,938 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude up 1 4/10% at $88.02.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future for a house or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Isle of Man Water Sports. Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Here's the relevant information. If you're sailing, kayaking, windsurfing, paddleboarding, sea swimming or diving this weekend around the coast, sea temperature 16 degrees Celsius. The wind tomorrow Saturday east or southeasterly, force 3 or 4, veering south or southwesterly, force 3 or less. Saturday afternoon, wave height 0.2 to 0.5 metres, wave periods 3 seconds, high tide 1:47 p.m. For Sunday, the wind is south or southwesterly, force 3 or 4, wave height 0.2 to 0.5 metres, wave period 3 seconds, high tide 2:30 p.m.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
To Isle of Man News Source, and Manx Radio's Update is the Isle of Man's most downloaded news podcast.
A Ramsey man's been jailed for 36 weeks after driving an injured person to hospital in a van that wasn't his while 3 times over the drink drive limit. Jason Liam Christian of Bircham Avenue Close was sentenced after pleading guilty to 4 charges following the incident in July. Sean Cowper reports.
Christian was in Star Grill in Ramsey in the early hours of the 11th of July when another individual in the takeaway sustained a hand injury. The 30-year-old drove the injured person to A&E shortly before 3 a.m. But when he arrived, staff at Nobles suspected he was intoxicated and contacted the police. Officers arrived to find an SCS van parked outside the emergency department, and when they stopped Christian a short distance away, they noted he had glazed eyes and could smell intoxicants. After he failed a roadside breath test, he was taken to police headquarters to give a further sample, which gave a reading of 105. The legal limit is 35. As well as admitting a charge of driving with excess alcohol, Christian also pleaded guilty to taking a vehicle without consent, driving whilst disqualified and having no insurance. During sentencing, magistrates heard the van had been taken from outside an address in Ramsey, with the keys having been left in the vehicle. Christian's defence advocate stated there was no evidence of poor driving and there was no damage to the vehicle as a result of the incident. Peter Taylor told the court his client is working to address his issues with alcohol and urged magistrates to give Christian one final chance. However, magistrates described the offences as incredibly serious and, having considered all alternatives, came to the conclusion that a custodial sentence was the only option. Christian was handed 3 12-week sentences and no penalty for the insurance charge. He'll also be banned from driving for 5 years and will have to take an extended driving test and complete an educational course before he can reapply for his licence.
Manx Radio Sport.
Fast am I, Rob Pritchard.
Fast am I. Good evening. The 2023-24 Isle of Man senior men's football season gets underway this weekend. The opening day of Saturday sees 21 fixtures penned in across the Premier League, Division 2, Combination 1 and Combination 2. All but one of the ties will kick off at 2:30pm. Among the ties, Peel, who secured their first Premier League title for the first time in 21 years last season, begin their title defence at home to St George's. Meanwhile, the newly promoted Premier League outfits of St Mary's and Braddon are both on the road for their first fixtures. They'll take on St John's United and Douglas Royal respectively. You can see the full schedule for the opening weekend's fixtures at manxradio.com. Meanwhile, the Manx rugby season is making its return for the new season tomorrow. Douglas will start their latest campaign in the North West 2 division when they welcome Furwood Waterloo to Portashee at 3pm on Saturday. Manx Radio's rugby correspondent Dave Christian says the Island side have a strong squad available for this weekend's opener, but it will nevertheless be a challenge for them.
Their record against Waterloo, indifferent. I think they've met several times over the past few seasons. Douglas won the last game back in February or March of this year. I suspect Waterloo, with a 5th place finish in this division last season, I suspect they're probably going to take the honours.
Elsewhere, Vagabonds also play their first match of the new season tomorrow as they travel to face Duckenfield in the Cheshire Plate at 2:15. And the Manx Hockey Association has confirmed when the new mixed and indoor hockey seasons will get underway this month. The Mixed League campaign is due to start on Saturday the 9th of September, whilst the indoor season is scheduled to begin a few days later on Tuesday the 11th of September with a taster week, with indoor finals to be played on the 2nd of December. Elsewhere, the first round of the Mixed Cup competitions of the Cup, Plate and Bowl will be held on the 7th of October. The draws for these will be made in due course. You can see the fixtures for the opening weekend of the new Isle of Man mixed hockey season on the Manx Radio website.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Inbound at Ronald's Way, the 5:30 EasyJet from Manchester is 10 minutes late. Then it's inbound the 7:50, 10 to 8 Loganair from London City, coming in on time. The 5 to 8 Loganair from Liverpool on time, the returning patient transfer plane. And the 8:30 EasyJet from London Gatwick currently showing on time. So outbound, that 6 o'clock EasyJet to Manchester is going out 20 minutes late as it came in late. Then it's the 6 o'clock Loganair on time to Liverpool, and the 9 o'clock EasyJet back to London Gatwick on time. Garth Road's closed between Foxdale Road and Tossaby Road near Foxdale. In Onken, the junction of Church Road, Harbour Road and Groudle Road closed for gas main work. Hillside Avenue is closed in Douglas for adjacent office window window replacement till the middle of June next year. You got temporary lights in Douglas on Victoria Road at Falconcliffe Terrace Junction for water main work. Falconcliffe Terrace is also closed for the work. And in Peel, East Quays closed between the House of Manannan and the road bridge for work on the road and pavement.
H&H Motorcycles.im for all your motorcycle requirements. Southgate Industrial Estate, opposite Quayside Tyres. Call 665646. Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690-300.
The Manx-born woman who hopes to become Miss Great Britain says it's time to bring back the Miss Isle of Man contest. Ella Stiles, who now lives in Maidenhead in the home counties, says the pageant would celebrate women on the island and their incredible achievements. Ella says beauty pageants have progressed with the times and aren't what they used to be.
Last year, I saw something on Facebook, and it was a lady called Joanna Martin Edge. She's Manx, and she competed in Miss Great Britain last year, and she was asking people on Facebook, does anyone know anything about the Miss Isle of Man pageant that was on in days gone by? And I remembered that I know someone whose auntie had entered it, back in the 80s. So I got talking to her about that. And then she started talking about her experience with Miss Great Britain, and she just said it was the best thing she's ever done. It's the women are so supportive, there's no competitiveness. Everyone's supporting each other, and it's a really empowering experience, and that led me to apply this year, and then I got my position as a finalist. In days gone by, you see photos of all these women lined up with their bikinis on and their sashes on, and that they're basically judged on their figures, their sort of vital statistics. It's really not like that anymore. The women that are competing in Miss Great Britain, they are forces to be reckoned with. I did have an article printed on Isle of Man today, which was printed last week, and I had a few negative comments, but the rush of support that followed that far drowns out the negativity. So it really doesn't matter, and you're left with a very, very positive feeling. A lot of the other contestants said, rule number one, don't read the comments, ever.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Dave Moore, producer Rhiann Evans. After the news, it's Rob Pritchard with Friday Sport, the greatest hits with Chris Kinley at 6, and I'm back on Monday at 5:30.
WIN